peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Thank you very much. Viewers, welcome to the second part of our show. This is Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi for media, who is in the headquarters in Nairobi, and from the political command center. This is the show called People's Court. People's Court, not courts. People's Court is a show what weighs what has happened among the population. What is going on, the development of the government, what the government has done, what it is doing. Today marks 10 years. 10 years of the new constitution of the Republic of Kenya. The new constitution that came into place on 27th of August 2010. I am lucky I was one of those around the podium when President Kibaki was being handed over that constitution. And I believe when we talk, the production team should bring in some of the pictures of the constitution on that day. I was lucky because I wanted to see a change in direction, a direction that would lead Kenya to a united Kenya. But while I was seated there, I remembered what Montesquieu is a French philosopher who said, there is no greater tyranny than that which is perpetrated under the shield of the law and the name of justice. There is no greater tyranny other than that is perpetrated under the shield of law and the justice. My panel this morning, Miriam will head it. I'm here to answer any questions. I'm here to tell you the bad, the good, and the ugly. Welcome to the show with that quote. The tyranny, remember that. Look at what Montesquieu, you can Google him if you want. But some of us who studied this classic theory, philosophy, we pick it, we use it very effectively. Wesonga is a good master on quotes. It says the power of power is to check power. Power ought to serve as a check to power. If you don't serve as a check to power, then you don't have a constitution. Yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta says a constitution should not be used as a conflict resolution document. I and Professor Onyari studied the same subject. I don't know whether Professor Onyari agrees. I also agree. For me, I agree with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. A constitution should not be a ceasefire agreement. Should not be a cessation of hostility agreement. It should be a guiding principle that brings peace, unity, and progress. That's what President Uhuru Kenyatta meant. Don't use it as a ceasefire. People who have not gone to school much, like former Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice Maraga, from Nyamira, where Professor comes from, would think a constitution is a ceasefire agreement. Use it as a ceasefire. No. You know, this president has become so philosophical, Jamen. Ya jana, President Uhuru alilima Maraga sana. Alimulima sana. By saying a constitution is not a ceasefire. It's a very important word. And as we discuss, Miriam, with your panel, let's look at where Maraga has used the constitution of the Republic of Kenya as a ceasefire. Let's find out what can be done on this new constitution. What can be changed? What is good? What is ugly? What is bad? For me, I now want to take the opportunity to hand it over to you, Miriam, for further guidance. I'm ready. I've only wanted to quote Montesquieu. Montesquieu, the French philosopher, said, the tyranny is perpetuated under the guise of law and justice. Tyranny. Ugandans say tyranny. Kenyans say tyranny. I don't know what the British say. I stand to be corrected. Because I went to learn this English. I am not born there. If you ask me in Lugisu, I will say it very properly. I don't know why we even followed this Wazungu. But thank you very much, Miriam. The tyranny of numbers is perpetuated under law and justice. Mark that. We hide behind the law to create chaos for others. 10 years ago, Kenya was at the precipice of disaster. After the 2007, 2008 madness created by some ultra-nationalist, violent operators. Created after an election, people went berserk. Even the people themselves who stood in an election did not behave that way. Have you? Do you not see that Raila Odinga in 2007 was not more radical than Ruto? And yet it was Raila who lost the election, not Ruto. Why was Ruto more radical? You saw him climb the table, stand on it, break everybody, wants to kick people. You see, you people forget lots of things. Because an election has just been stolen, You do all those things in front of cameras. Is there a way you can change the constitution to avoid those type of sins that we saw in 2007, 2008? I rest my case.
All right, thank you so much, Doc, for that introduction. Professor, a very good morning to you. Just a few minutes to noon, but good morning.
Morning.
All right, and Karen, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
And Daniel Wesonga, very good morning to you.
It's a very good morning, Miriam, and the rest of the panel.
All right, so today Kenya marks 10 years since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. A lot has happened, and there has been questions, and about is it the right time for us now to get a new constitution that will be able to address effectively the challenges and the needs for Kenyans today. There has been a special coverage on the Daily Nation and also the Star newspaper there over this new constitution, and when I'm reading from page 2 of the Daily Nation, it says, when President Daniel Arap Moi announced that he planned to invite foreign experts to help draft a new constitution in his New Year's message in 1995, there was a big sign of relief among the political class that the push for constitutional reform and finally received a final endorsement. Then a couple of lines there, it says that, but it was never to be as Moi neither invited the experts nor gave the public an explanation as to why he never kept his promise. And of course, the Constitution of Kenya is the supreme law of the Republic of Kenya. There has been some significant innovations of the Constitution, with the most recent redraft being enabled in 2010. And of course, the 2010 edition replaced the 1963 Independence Constitution. So yesterday, when President Uhuru Kenyatta was giving his speech, this is what he said, that tomorrow, that is today, the 27th of August 2020, marks the 10th year since we promulgated our new constitution. This constitution has been hailed the world over as one of the most progressive in the world, and this is because it is an embodiment of what a social contract between the people of different origins and their government should be. And but I must remind us all of one thing: if our past is constantly at war with our present, we end up losing our future. And with the spirit of this constitution was meant to reconcile our past with the present in order to secure our future. And we shall continue looking at this very important part and the speech that President Uhuru Kenyatta made yesterday. So what President Uhuru Kenyatta said, I don't know, from what I've read, Professor, what do you understand with that? President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that our past is constantly at war with our present, and that we might end up losing our future. In other words, if this constitution is not amended or is not made in a way that will be able to move us forward, then we might not be able to solve some of these problems that has been plaguing us from our past, that we are dealing with in the present and might continue in the future. What do you understand by what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday, in line with wanting to amend or get a new constitution?
Thank you, Miriam, for that question. And I want to put my record straight, and history has come to judge me right. Miriam, I was of the same thinking with the former president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, that you don't overhaul your constitution, you change those areas which you are not comfortable with. But in Kenya, we decided to change everything. So it took time for people to persuade me to support the current constitution, particularly the former ambassador for United States to Kenya, Michael Rambaga. He said, look here, Prof, there are some good things in this constitution. Those things you are not good, you are not happy with. At least there is something good on this one. They can be looked into in the future. And I want to thank the Prime Minister and the President. They have become true to what they said. The constitution was made by human beings. They were found to make mistakes. See, like the article 27, which says that they were gender third rule. And as I was reading through Miriam, since 2013, all the bills or the laws which have been made by Parliament, if someone goes to court and argues all of them, they are 80 number, they are unlawful, simply because Parliament was not properly constituted. So you see those what they can do to a country. So after 10 years of a constitution, it is high time to agree, Miriam. Everybody was in agreement. 80% of the constitution was good, but 20% was having some issues. And Miriam, if the glass of water full of water and you put just a drop of water with poison, it becomes contaminated. So we have had a perfect opportunity now for us, Miriam, to have an honest discussion and honest debate. Which areas are we not happy with? And remember, even that what President Uhuru is saying. In fact, we made this constitution because we had post-election of 2007, 2008. Because Kenyans were saying that we don't want to find ourselves in another fiasco like this. So there was no proper thinking among the Kenyans. We were doing it in fear. We don't want to see what happened in post-election violence happening again.
So it was a ceasefire.
But now this time, Miriam, we can have a honest discussion, an honest conversation. And in fact, this is what we have done through BPI. Views have been corrected. They have been corrected. Let the report be given to the President and the Prime Minister. Let it be tabled before the National Assembly. Let us go for a referendum, and the Kenyans will decide on the best way forward. On that one, Miriam, I thank the President and the Prime Minister for having said what they told Kenyans in 2010, because the Prime Minister was the Prime Minister and Uhuru was the Deputy President, the Deputy Prime Minister. They say that we will look into this one into the future. Surprisingly, Miriam, those who oppose the Constitution, I was with the Deputy Prime Minister for some time. He has got no record of trying to see anything good. Anything which he finds, he says it is good. And apparently from now, that's when you see he's not having a serious conversation. He's saying, oh, let us not change the Constitution. The moment is now. Let us seize this opportunity. It can take our country forward, Miriam.
All right, Daniel, there, President Uhuru Kenyatta telling us that if our past is constantly at war with our present, we end up losing our future. And the spirit of this constitution was meant to reconcile our past with the present in order to secure our future. So essentially, the constitution we're having now has not reconciled that. And so we're staring at a brink, future if these amendments, very important amendments, are not made in our constitution. Is that what President Uhuru Kenyatta seems to be saying here?
Yes, Miriam, thank you for that question. And I think Prof has really brought up a good point. And from my perspective, how I read the President's address is that he meant to say that perhaps the problems that we thought that this constitution, the new constitution, will address wholesomely, were perhaps not addressed with very exhaustively, and perhaps a few of the issues that Kenyans used to have before the new constitution were still crippling into this new dispensation, and those problems seem to be affecting our present engagement as a people and also the way the government is running. So for us to be able to move forward quite robustly, we need to address those loopholes in the constitutions that allow the former problems to cripple into the present. And that is what perhaps where the BPI report comes in, just addressing the issues like the winner takes it all in every election. You remember, the aim of the new constitution was aimed at preventing post-election violence, since we had it in 1992, 1997. And you remember in 2007, 2008. But you see in 2013, 2017, we still had some pockets of violence in various towns in Kenya. So those are some of the issues that the new changes in the constitution ought to address. And Miriam, you can always see it even from the engineering perspective. When an engineer does a project, be it a road, be it a building, they always give it some time, let's say like 2-3 years, just to re-evaluate it, as they do touch on here and there before now the building can be able to be handed over to the people who are the owners of the building. So this is the same case with this constitution. It is only 10 years since it was promulgated in 2010. So without that period, a decade-long period, we've been seeing which areas have the shortcomings, which areas are perfectly done, and now from there, we can be able to do a few touch-ons before now we can be able to leave it to the Republic to run our future business. So I believe it's a good agenda. Let us look at it. Let us reevaluate. Let us seal all the loopholes and repair all the leakages in the Constitution, so that going forward, it will be a document which is not a ceasefire document like the President said, but a document that should dictate on how we relate as a country, a document that sets a precedence of success and progress and prosperity for the future of this country.
All right, very well. And of course, the new constitution, 10 years, I don't know if it's new anymore, but 10 years today, I think one of the key things that it was able to bring with it is devolution that was able to address a lot of marginalization that had been seen in this country since the inception, or since Kenya gained its independence. So that partly is a success, and a lot of people, and when we're having this conversation on revenue allocation, we've seen when we had a guest from Northeastern and a few others have said as much as maybe not so much has been done, but they've seen some fruits of devolution that came about through this new constitution. But Karen, it appears still we've not completely been able to, to reconcile our past with the present, so that we're able to charter a clear way for a prosperous Kenya from tomorrow, in the future.
Yes. You're very correct, Miriam. We haven't, and I to quote from what the president said, our past is could be constant with our present. If we don't even do something about our past, our past here could be the election, So if we don't do something about it, then we have problems with the next election. So to avoid problems when it comes to elections and all of that, we need to tread carefully, and I agree with the president. And concerning the other constitution, that's things that have not been taken care of. When you talk of integrity, leadership, and that's why, because of the failure when it comes to integrity and leadership, we have issues to do with people misusing public resources. So such issues are not to be taken for granted. So I agree, we need to sort these things out right now, even before we go for the next election, even for the sake of our future, to prevent the history repeating itself, Miriam.
All right, very well, Doc. Even as we think about, of course, the referendum, which is looming there, should Kenyans agree to it, because the BBI, the second draft is yet to be presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. It was, while we were voting for it, because I voted for it, we were told 80% was good, but 20% might require some amendments in the future. So what we are essentially staring at is something that we already were told, but of course perhaps Kenyans forgot. And as a professor there has rightly put it, if you have a glass of water or a cup of water like I have now, and you drop just one drop of poison, it makes the whole water not good for consumption. So as much as the 80% is good, but the 20%, and seems to be very, very, very important key of this constitution, might be now eroding the whole constitution. But today, Yash Paul Guy wrote on the Star newspaper, and we know him. He was one of the people that helped in us formulating our new constitution. And part of what he wrote here on page 12 of the Star newspaper, he's saying, Doctor, that while paying attention to Kenya's constitution on its 10th anniversary, we must not ignore the question of implementation. Its values and objectives have been implemented only in small measure, and already there are plans by our political masters to erode it further, most aggressively by Raila Odinga. So he's saying Raila Odinga essentially there is out of order. So what he's saying there is the constitution might not be too bad. It is the implementation that is the problem.
Now, implementation has not been the problem. If you are going to implement something that is wrong, Miriam, the whole thing also becomes wrong. It is like planting seeds that has no market. So whom do you blame? The Constitution and the constitutions are not static. Constitutions are dynamic. They move. Part of what kills Africa is shrinkage of constitutionalism. Let's take notes here. The shrinkage of constitutionalism in Africa comes this way. We make very good constitutions, but we eat them. We mutilate them. We cut them to pieces to fit our desires. Africa has suffered the shrinkage of constitutionalism. It's not only in Kenya, but it is everywhere in the continent, on the continent. When you go to Uganda, the same thing. Go to Tanzania now, opposition cannot even campaign. But what does the Constitution say? That there be opposition to campaign. Go to Malawi. Go everywhere in Africa. There is shrinkage of constitutionalism. Then it begs the question, do we really need the constitutions? One of the things that should worry you is that Britain, which gave us the Westminster model, does not have a constitution. Britain has no written constitution. The Queen and the Prime Minister rule on what we call norms. Traditional. Generation after generation, people have been queuing. So when you go to stand on a bus stage, it is not a constitutional right that you should queue. Or you should line up in order to get into a bus. No. But it has become now a custom that before you pay the conductor, you must queue. It has also become a custom that when a shopkeeper in London gives you change back, you have bought a pint of milk and the person will be offended if you don't say thank you. Next time when you come, he will know who you are and that you might not be served properly. So constitutions, whereas Africa has been struggling to write constitutions, where we got our democracy, there is no constitution. They help each other. They fundraise. The British are about 120 million people. If there is a disaster of earthquake anywhere in the world, each of them will, the first round, if one of them gives you £1, that is 120 million pounds. Okay, remove the children. You have asked why Britain is always everywhere in the world. The British protect the English we are speaking now. as an institution. They even fund NGO to go and teach English. I don't know whether you know it. That's why they created what we call British Council. British Council in the Commonwealth teaches English. The first lesson you know is to press your grammar very well, composition, write an essay. How do you balance your essay? The difference between analysis, questions, what happened, when it happened, how it happened. Those questions are answered differently because they are constitutional. They abide by the norms, the customs. What Kenya did wrong, and I will have to spend another 5 minutes here, then later on questions can come. There is a good constitution. That's why Professor was saying he stood on the other side. He did not want this constitution because an African proverb says, one finger oils the other. I think Umofian clan. If one finger is dirty and you put it in oil, the oil will come oils the other until all of them become dirty. Therefore, the constitution becomes dirty. The Kenyan constitution should be looked at in 3 categories. Prism number 1 is the criminal justice system. The burden of justice, law, that Montesquieu, French philosopher Montesquieu, said lies there. Lies in the criminal justice system of United Republic of Kenya. You arrest a person on Friday, release the person on Monday on bail, because bail is a right, Bill of Rights, is part of the Constitution. From Article 55 of your Constitution, you can see it is here. From Article 55, 56, 57, amendment of the Constitution lies there. But there are fundamental things that you cannot change. The supremacy of the Constitution.
Right, we apologize. We seem to be having a problem with Doctor's signal there as we wait for him to come back. Doc, you're back? We had a bit of a problem there.
Me, from my side?
Yeah, the signal, yes. But you're back now, so it's all good. Continue.
Somebody just disconnected me.
You're on now?
My side, I didn't feel anything.
All right. It's just technology sometimes, the challenges, but continue.
Okay. The supremacy of the Kenyan Constitution cannot be changed by parliamentary debate. Mm-hmm. You must go to referendum. 2, the territory of Kenya cannot be changed. You must go to a referendum. The sovereignty of the people, you have to go to the referendum. National values and the principles of governance. You can now change as referred to by Article 10, 2 and A to D. The Bill of Rights, that is what I've been talking about. You cannot change. The people here have got bail right, So if you want to change the bail right, Kenyans must include a bill. Do you want to change the right to bail? Yes or no? The functions of the parliament, the independence of the president, the term of office of the president, you can't change until you go to the referendum. The functions of the parliament, you can't change.
All right.
Of this chapter. Okay. Coming down on this, if I were a Kenyan, what would I very, very, very tough. I would change that. 67 years for Waruke is a very good example that nobody is trying to touch money now. Tunakula pesa zetu mzuri sana. Watu inaenda kwa kununua madawa, not people stealing it. Okay. Another thing that if I were Kenyan, I would advocate for, Professor, is to remove tribal governors. Like the governor of Nyamira, Nyagarama. What is his name?
Nyagarama.
Yes. The governor of Nyamira should not be a native from Nyamira. Why? You are just increasing tribalism. That's where the problem has come of Kenya. That's why we have a pull and a push today. We have got a pull and a push now, a very big pull and a push between the central government and the developed government. If we had a governor like a Nuru from Eastern, Northeastern, roads in Nyamira would be passable. Because he will give you, whichever you, once the budget is passed, his role is to inspect, have you done the road or not? It's not pulled down by tribal clanism that we see in the Busia. Ejamong versus Otwoma. Ojomong is an Etesot. Otwoma is a Samia. The people in Busia are all the time divided. Are all divided. Every time they go to voting, there is division. In Samia, in Busia County. Very big division that can even, you know, it can cause a lot of problems. So do we do it right to get a man from our own Busia to be the governor? Go to Kirinyaga. What is making the people of Kirinyaga fight? I'm not saying Waiguru has no problems. Waiguru might have problems. But one of the reasons why people in Kirinyaga are fighting is Waiguru comes from a different angle of the county. Even if he speaks the same language, they don't see him as that clan's woman. They see her as an outsider, serving outside influence. Go to Kitui. Go to Trans Nzoia, Haemba. Governor Haemba is fighting a very vicious war. Go to Siaya, Rasanga, and Amidiwo. Rasanga and Orengo. Rasanga and Agumbo. They are fighting a vicious war Go to Kisii, Ong'e, and Professor Ong'eri. A vicious war. Go to Kiambu, Governor Kabogo, and the Governor former Waititu. A vicious war. Go Kirinyaga again. You saw the war between Waiguru and another faction. Go to Nyeri. You find Kachagwa. The first mayor had very rough time with Ephraim Maina. I know all these things in head. Go to Mombasa. Hassan Omar versus Joho. They are all from Mombasa County. But there is a war. Why? Because the constitution is bad. Go to Kilifi, which brings in Karen, Malindi. Those in Malindi are not comfortable with Kilifi. You know that very well, Karen. There is a fight between Malindi, Kilifi. Go to Lamu. You will find that Lamu is more divided. Kikuyus who are there and those from the coast, they have a fight. Go to Tana River. Governor Godana, my friend Major Godana. Is it Godana? Yes. The one I served with in Bosnia. We were together in Bosnia, in Serbia, with him. He's at war with the Somalis, the Mugatanas versus the Somali. You have now balkanized the country. Go to Garissa, Adan Itwale, and another Quran. Is it Quran?
Quran.
Go to Mandera. Governor the Shuji guy, what is his name? He big like me.
Right. We apologize for that. We seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. Doc, you're back.
Someone is just tampering with my internet because I'm hitting very serious point.
I think also it could be our side as well, but it's okay.
Okay, go to Wanjiri, go to Isiolo, go to Kisumu, Anyanganyong versus Raila's sister. It was a war until Raila had to step in. Rasanga, no, not Rasanga. There is another, the former governor was, what was his name?
Jack Ranguma.
Jack Ranguma, my friend. Look at that war. Look at the war between Oparanya and Harwale. Look at the war between Wangamati and Wetangula. Look at the war in Nakuru between Susan Kihika and Kinyanjui. Look at the war in Laikipia. Look at the war in Nyandarua. All these counties have a problem because of a bad law that allows tribalism. So you Kenyans, the basic thing you can give Uhuru can give to the people of Kenya. In my summary, I agree with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and I beg he is listening. Your Excellency, the best thing you can give the people of Kenya is that unit of purpose delivered through changing the Constitution to stop people calling people to Kanas. Instead, call them Kenyans. I don't know whether you are getting my point here now.
You are hammering it.
Call everybody a Kenyan. Don't call people Turukana, Munyes versus Nano. You saw the war there. But if we had a commissioner called Nuru, commissioner, and then you elect your other MCAs, no problem. You know why MCAs are ganging to remove governors? Kitui, Governor Wambua, a Senator Wambua, gangs up with MCAs who come from his clan because he was related to Nyenze. Nyenze marries the sister. They went to overthrow Kitui governor, Jadi Tengiru. Is that the constitution you think is not accurate? That's a bad constitution. Look at the war in Nairobi. Part of why Sonko is having his problem, despite being a prefect of Shema, Telewa, that place there. I don't want to mention it to create chaos. Shem ya Talewa. Shimo ya Talewa. Sindio, now I've mentioned nicely. Shimo la Tele. Can I be ahead of here?
Simratero.
Shimotera. Okay. Shimotewa. Let's take it to the prison. Sonko is having a problem in Nairobi because of the constitution. Nairobi is supposed to be a cosmopolitan area with all people. But there are people who come and say, Nairobi belongs to us. So when you come like a Chidero, Governor Chidero arrived here, didn't you see him being taken down for corruption? You know who made it, who was making these millions? Have you ever asked who owns this Nairobi? Do you know? Let there be trouble. You will see how many people will leave the apartment keys for you. You know who they are. So Nairobi is the only, that's why President Uhuru Kenyatta had to take over Nairobi. You know why? There was going to be a very dangerous, vicious war here. Because if you came in, each group in Nairobi, where do you find the lawyers? They were Songas. Dagoretti corner. Wamejaa huko sana. Where do you find Stephen and Miriam? Somewhere around here, rare area there. There are none of them. Kandara, Makandara. It is Kandara constituency huko kwa Mr. This. Ha! You can't pass there. Where do you find Kisses? Again, Docorate Center. Akon. Another tribe. Another tribe. Another tribe. So, once you have MCAs operating on clans, Look at the people moving emotions. Have you seen why Alachi could not work in Nairobi? Despite the fact that Nairobi has got more Luyas voters than any other voting bloc. Did you know that? Nairobi, the Luyas are the second voting bloc in Nairobi to the Kikuyus. But the stabilizing factor of Nairobi politics media is when the Luo joined the Luya to vote out the Kikuyu. Have you not seen that that is how they vote? If you want, that's how Chidero won this election here. Then the Kamba come to join the Kikuyu to give Sonko a vote. Sonko got the vote of the Kikuyu plus the Kamba. The rest of the Luya and the Luo, they voted as a bloc, including Mr. Champlain's tribe here. They went for Kidero. So we have balkanized the country. My point here is I'm hammering back the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's point. The past, if not corrected, can destroy the future. Mm-hmm. The Constitution should not be used as a ceasefire. We can't have a problem by problem, day by day, year by year. We have to correct it. You want it, you don't want it. Let this lecture sink nicely. There is no shortcut to the correction of the problem that has befallen the people of Kenya. Apart from the people of Kenya, the only problem they have, there are two. One produces the other. Problem number one is the electoral mechanisms.
Right.
Am I here? Electoral mechanism. The electoral mechanism, I am trying to pick a lot of your brains, all of you. I can see all of you have the points, which I have already. I have not looked at your notes. I swear God is watching. But electoral mechanisms triggered by a bad constitution, triggers the chaos, the violence, the killing, the ICC, which we have. We have been labeled ICC orphans because of electoral mechanisms. Bad elections have caused Kenya a very bad name. Yet Kenyans are very good people. Yet Kenyans have kept us here as refugees. Hundreds and hundreds of you, of us, including the girl who speaks against Trump, a Somali girl passed through Kitale. She's from Kitale. She's not from Somalia. She went through Dabab. Today she is a congresswoman of Minnesota in the United States of America. And moreover, a Republican. Can you imagine? She is herself a Republican, but she criticizes Trump. Kenyans have made people. Kenya as a country has made people. But Kenya itself destroys itself during elections. Therefore, the president is simply saying, hello, 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 wake up. and let's clean Kenya. Let's put Kenya first. What do we want to get from Kenya? As I summarize in my conclusion, on this lecture, the good is we have freedom of speech, assembly. Kenya has no political prisoners in their cells. There are no people in Kenya who are kept incommunicado because of their political conscience. We have only hardcore criminals who are arrested. Either they have shot people, robbed people, stolen people's property. But Kenya does not have political prisoners. That's one good aspect of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. The second aspect of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, which is very good, is Kenya has no territorial ambition. The Constitution of Kenya safeguards the Kenyans from involving in acquiring territory of another person. The third good thing of the Constitution is you change government every 5 years, which my country has got one president, while you have received 3 in Kenya. You have now the third president. One is dead. May his soul rest in peace. Kibaki is president, and Uhuru Kenyatta is president. My country still has one. Kenya, again, the Constitution, through good guidance, you allow the Bill of Rights to excel. They might be excelling badly, but you still have people going for bail. Their rights. When the police comes, you ask the police, where's the warrant? Other states in East Africa, Sudan, Uganda, there's no warrant. Police just, if you joke twice, he takes you down. In Ethiopia, you have seen the type of administration which has made Ethiopia work. They don't have mercy over criminals. Kenya needs to change that bit, but the law is very good. 3 or 4, Kenya's foreign policy has never been a policy of ambition. It has been a welcome policy where international agencies come to operate here. The Constitution has safeguarded the principles. And the last thing, Kenya has got a very good president who actually implements this Constitution. I am not going to speak like Harvey, Nelson Harvey from planet Mars, who said Uhuru has not implemented the Constitution because of one instance. One of the instances is the judges. Some of the judges that were listed are sex pests. Sex pests. And suwa ezidia abantu. Dicks that ooze blood from people sexually. You can't appoint them to another level to go and destroy more people up there. Uhuru had a point. Second one, some of the judges were involved in corruption. You can't appoint a person who was involved in a Kasha case and promote him to go to the Court of Appeal. Uhuru had a point there. Maraga should have not used the constitution as a ceasefire to come and tell Uhuru. He would have used other methods as an leader of the age of 69, coming to 70, who is 20 years older than Uhuru, gone to Uhuru and said, whom do you want me to remove from the list? And they could have finished it in the bedroom or on the boardroom somewhere. Maraga did not do that. Why? Maraga has an ambition to dismember Uhuru Kenyatta. And we are watching. I, especially me, I don't sleep. My one eye is watching. I have monitored George Soros' operations. Yesterday you saw a court being bangled out of a meeting. We are the television that brought Ekuro Court's documents here because George Soros had bought him to do another bill of right of referendum. And he was going to announce yesterday. Today, he would have announced that he has got another bill of stolen signatures. We did a very good coup in the Third Alliance Party. I'm sorry, God help me. But Ekuro Court can struggle in the register of political parties where he's going to find the roadblock. Roadblock. Let's see whether he can survive. Can I tell you 500 million shillings Miriam and the panel has passed to destabilize this country. The Constitution, therefore, and therefore the people of Kenya have a right to change the articles that are obnoxious. Some of them that I have just mentioned, of which I believe the panel, because of time, can say, yes, I was right here, I was wrong here. I beg to move.
All right, very well. So yesterday, when President Uhuru Kenyatta was speaking and when he was mentioned and talked about this matter of the need for us to change the constitution, he said 10 years later, the moment to improve on it is now. That is the current constitution. And as I said in my Madaraka Day speech, we must not succumb to the paralysis of a constitutional rigidity. We must treat a constitution as a living document that must constantly adjust to our emerging realities. And Professor, that got me thinking, what are some of these emerging realities and how has the constitution that we have right now failed to address these emerging realities?
Miriam, thank you so much. How I wish that we could have ended that where Dr. Masanga has put it. Mm-hmm. But since you have asked me the question, let me just do it. Mm. Miriam, did you know that the current constitution is a winner take it all? Mm-hmm. That the two major tribes in this country will come together and they will take everything, they will have the appointments, you can see everything, you saw it. That is not what having appointment which gives us the map of Kenya. So the realities of the realities of the day here is we cannot put powers in two tribes. We need to diversify so that all Kenyans are on the dining table. And it doesn't matter which side of the dining table you sit, so long as you are there, you can be able to serve yourself. That's one area that we need to look into it. Miriam, do you know chapter 6 on ethics and on ethics and leadership?
Mm-hmm. Integrity.
What do you see some of our MCAs, members of the county assembly, do? Have you seen them fighting in the assembly?
So we failed to implement
to each other.
So we failed to implement the constitution.
The reality of the day that constitution, that constitution has not done
but Professor,
good to us. And we need to revisit.
Let me just respond to perhaps what you just said there about how we see even our political leaders behave. But that is already there in Chapter 6 of Leadership and Integrity of our Constitution. So what perhaps is lacking, as Yashpal Gai said, being one of the people who helped in midwifing this Constitution, is that we have failed to implement, because that part is there, but we have failed to implement it.
Miriam, look here. You make a constitution which can be implementable. Why haven't it been implemented?
The lack of... For us to hold, perhaps, like in the case of we see the corruption and what we're seeing now, it is there in the constitution and how to deal with it.
But fair enough, you are not... See, like the gender two-third.
Now let's talk about that.
It is in the constitution. Is it implementable? Do you give the people of Kenya the right to vote, and then you take it through this one? So these are some of the realities, Miriam, I'm talking about. Some of the realities we are talking about, that if there's anything which comes to Chapter 6, if we can audit it and then reinforce it, fine. Because you can see for the next 10 years, that part of the constitution, people just go around and then they repeat the system. Miriam, what I'm trying to say is this.
All right,
there are some sections, you know, it is just, have I ever given an example of an relevant in this show? On this constitution, there are some people, if you can see it is good. Like on Chapter 4, Miriam, Dr. Masanga said that it is very progressive. It gives people the rights. Does it give people the responsibilities? What are the responsibilities of the citizens? We see corruption being emanated every other day in its ugly face. What do the Kenyans do? So we need to do and reinforce that, yes, we have got rights. There is responsibility on our part to take the country forward. Like the children, talk about their rights. Fine, I don't fight. Have you ever heard them saying what is our responsibility? So these are some of the gray areas that we, Miriam, that we ought to. Like now, even you see that Article 23, 24, 26, it talks about reproductive health. You have been seeing even the senator for Nakuru trying to struggle. So what I did say, and that was where I want to end in, Miriam, let us have an honest conversation. Let us have an honest discussion. And Miriam, we have got a country to take forward. Like now, let me tell you, if we are not very careful with this PPI debate, it is going to exactly be the same of what happened in 2005. You put politics, you put the country aside, you put the agenda which you have, and then you start having now which side has got more people. But I want to say, like those areas have pointed out, we just have a look at them. You see what is happening at Article 203 up to now on equalization funds. It was saying that we have to do it within 20 years. 10 years is already gone. What are we going to do there? Are you going to change it? And when you are going to change that section, you need a referendum. Because it is only 10 years, you are not going to say now, we are going to take it 20 years. So these are some of the areas, and this is where we expected the Supreme Court to assist us, because areas where the Constitution is not very clear on what the drafters of the Constitution
meant, we need an interpretation by courts.
Were meaning the Supreme Court were able to interpret for us. Before it comes to you, you go and tell the members of parliament, go and enact. And they have tried 5 times, and they have not been able to do it. So this is the perfect moment. And I can see, Miriam, we clamored to change the current constitution for 20 years after removing Section 2A. because the leadership then, the presidents were not willing to change the constitution. But now, when you have the head of state being on your side, I don't know whether Kenyans are seeing what I'm saying. This is the perfect moment for us to have a discussion and engagement and a conversation, and we'll be able to find the way forward for the good of this country.
All right, very well. I think a lot of Kenyans would agree that perhaps the constitution needs some changing. I think it's the part that needs to be changed that a lot of Kenyans don't agree. I think depending on the political, because now politics also has taken center stage. Daniel, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that we must treat a constitution as a living document that must constantly adjust to emerging realities. What are some of these emerging realities that we have that the current constitution has failed, to address effectively, even as we look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, in your closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Miriam. And I have been listening to Dr. Matsanga. He has brought out a very important points auspiciously there, as well as Professor Jared Onyari. And, Miriam, right now, when you look at the current political debate we are having, the Speaker of the National Assembly already told us that the Parliament is at the verge of being dissolved because they are not in a position, they have not been in a position to meet the 2/3 gender rule. Such as some of the emerging issues that are really put the country in a very precarious situation and bring a leadership crisis. We have also, professors also talked about the issue of corruption. You find that the current law does not have an airtight areas where people who have been convicted of corruption can be prosecuted within a specified period of time, and even extreme cases where they can be able to be denied bail so that they don't interfere with the witnesses and the trail of evidence. So you see those are some of the issues. And also we talked about the issues of the winner takes it all. In that in every election, there are some communities, some ethnic groups that feel that they've been left out in the sharing of the national leadership. So those are some of the issues that if we can be able to address them quite well, so that in every election, every Kenyan feels represented in every level of government, that in our fight against corruption, we make sure that thieves of public offers do not go scot-free, that even in leadership, we don't have a situation where we do have a crisis like we do have right now in Parliament. So, and also devolution. We have found that devolution was a good thing, and it was a well thought of system of governance, but we have found shortfalls in the way the devolved functions are being implemented, in the way the leadership is running its affairs in the counties. So those are just some of the issues that need to be fixed. We need a quick touch on and to ensure that this constitution, though it has been voted as one of the most progressive documents in the world, let us also be able to do quick fixes in the areas where there's some leakages, areas where we have some shortfalls in it, so that we have a very, very seamless and efficient document at the end of the day.
Honorable, thank you so much there. And of course, yes, it has been thought to be one of the most progressive, constitutions we have even in this region. But one of the emerging realities now is perhaps some of the things that were included in this constitution might not be fitting in the current realities in the Kenyan setting right now. Karen, which are some of these emerging realities that perhaps this constitution has failed to address effectively?
Okay, Miriam, we have the issue of nepotism. Currently, we are having lots of nepotism. We're having our leaders misusing the public resources. So misusing the public resources, nepotism, corruption, those are some of the emerging realities that we're facing as a country right now. Why? Because we have failed to implement. We have this chapter on, Professor has mentioned, Wesonga also mentioned, the chapter on leadership and integrity. We've not implemented that chapter, and that's why we have lots of nepotism going on. We have lots of corruption. Let the culprits, whoever it is that they are they are found to be culprits. Let the law take its course. But then we're talking of consequences here, like Dr. Masanga mentioned. We need to get them consequences. When everyone out there thinks of misusing public resources, we have to think twice before doing that. So we need to implement this. This chapter, to be specific, has a problem, and that's why right now we're having to chase after people. The EACC, has to go after people because there's lots of corruption going on, and the Constitution has not been able to find a solution to it. So that is a chapter that the Constitution needs to find a solution to. And talking of the good side of the Constitution, Miriam, you mentioned devolution, and also Wesonga, and also the rest of the panelists. I agree on that. And we have also the transformation that has happened. We used to have districts before, but then because of this particular constitution, we now have constituencies. That means people will not have to, because before people would make decisions for us from Nairobi. People not being here, people not being to Ajir, people not being to Mombasa, but then they'll make decisions for us. But because of the Constitution, we've had to make decisions from the grassroots. People know what we've gone through, but we're the ones to make the decision. So it becomes easier for us. So apart from the emerging realities, corruption, misuse of public resources, then we also have a good side of this Constitution, Miriam.
All right, Doctor, as we end, perhaps you've picked a few of some of the things the panelists are saying. There is optimism that the BBI will be the answer to Kenya's divisive politics and the cycle of election-related violence in the country. And Doctor, you mentioned there, as much as we've been going through this Building of Bridges initiative draft here, and something that perhaps they've not addressed really effectively is the Kenya's electoral process. They've elected the composition of parliament and the presidency and all that and the leadership. But the core issues that bring about all this chaos that we see every 5 years in this country, that is our electoral process, have not been addressed adequately to deal and address the emerging issues around our electoral process there. So perhaps that is something that we should be looking at. But even as we look at changing the constitution, because as we speak now, it appears it is something that is inevitable. A referendum could be in the offing. And this article by Yash Polgai, from what he's alluding, that it appears to be a person like Raila Odinga is really pushing to amend this, and according to him, there's no reason to do that. And we've seen a lot of constitutional coups happening in the continent, and some of which are changed to suit the current political situations in a country. But what we see here in Kenya is driven to find a solution, a lasting solution to address some of these problems that we've been seeing recurring, that stem back to when Kenya got its independence, to reconcile, as what President Uhuru Kenyatta was saying, our past with our future, so that we're able to charter, our past with our present, so that we're able to charter a brighter future as a country. How can we, assure Kenyans that this need for a change of our constitution is for the good of the people of Kenya and also the good for the country?
First of all, I totally disagree with Professor
Eshpal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's an old law schooler whom I respect, an elder I respect for his fight for human rights, his fight for equality, his fight for justice, his fight for equalization. But you cannot equalize the world. That's why we go to elections. Why do we go to elections? We go to elections because we want to make it look credible, not equal. Because if you had wanted to be equal, all of us would say like a Yash Power. And keep the same trouser, one shirt, two shirts, and keep it that way. And become Mahatma Gandhi. Oh, Mama Teresa. Why is it that God did not just give Mama Teresa everything? But Mama Teresa had to go out to fundraise. Am I wrong?
Right.
To fundraise in order to give service. The Roman Empire had to go to borrow from the Vatican because the Vatican did not come to equalize the money on earth. Have you seen the Anglican, have you seen the Roman Catholic bishops begging money like the Anglican and Mr. Chamberlain is the church here? You go to their service. Go to their service. Go to their service and see in the Catholic Church, Karen. Everything you can give them what you have. But our church, even the pastor has to tell you, tuko na shida. Am I wrong?
You are right.
You're a Catholic, I don't know. The type of donations in the Catholic Church are from your heart if you want. But the type of donations in the Anglican Church, you from the eyes you can see the need. And you just pull out. Even the priest will come. Have you seen how many? Look at, let me ask you. Do we have Catholic bishops in Kenya? Yes. Have you seen them going to Ruto's office?
No.
Karen, begging for money. Eh?
No.
I saw only one Catholic judge, bishop, who was reprimanded. And I said, you remember he even returned the vehicle. Because it is a doctrine against the Catholic Church. But what are they called? Evangelical. Margaret, Bishop Margaret, sijui nini, nani, our. You can see them praising, hallelujah, corruption later, hallelujah, later. Then what was Jesus doing? Jesus was coming down to save us. This cry tears, man. He came to save us from this type of life. Then we are going to beg money from corrupt people. Are we no more? Are we no more? The worst thing, Miriam, I come back to you, which you have just asked me. The tragedy of Kenya is the elections. If you don't change the election, President Uhuru Kenyatta, angalia, let me take off the specs. Ndio nione mzuri. If the way you elect, the way Kenyans go to elections, Your Excellency, if you don't change them, if you don't change the format, I have gone ahead in London and Europe to hear the results. Don't try to put Kenyans on an election mood when you have not changed the electoral system. On this one, I agree with Raila Odinga. You can go and hang on a transformer if you want. Switch on the transformer. You hater, the haters who hate me, today I've told you on election, on changing the mode of election, on how Kenyans unite to vote and no winner takes it all. President Uhuru Kenyatta, I am with you. Does Kenya need elections? Does Africa need elections therefore? Show me which African knows what an election is. Ask Deputy President Ruto a question when you meet him. What is an election? Ask him. He will simply tell you that an election is, I collect people from Tarubo and we go and elect. No. You know, he cannot write 200 pages on an election, but he wants it. It's not only him. So many people want this election, but give him a paper and a pen and ask one question. What is an election? Remove the telephone. Remove all the equipment. Give him 2 hours. You can't produce 10 food scraps. Leo sijui Mliam anasema huyu mjamaa siku hizi anakunywa nini? Hakuna kitu baya. Chai peke yake ndio ulimwambia nikunywe. Ndio hii. Nimesukuma kikombe 3 hapa. The guy cannot write 10 full scraps. But he talks of election from morning at night when he wakes up, even the wife. Election! 2022 election! What a tragedy. Your Excellency, the step you took yesterday to prepare the people of Kenya, that the press cannot guide the present without changes, and you cannot get the future without changes. I agree. 2, I support the people of Kenya to remove this thing, the winner takes all. To have those who have lost to write a losing speech. How many politicians in Kenya come to the podium at the Bomas of Kenya with 2 speeches? I bet. Hakuna. In our country, Mr. Besigye has never written a losing speech. He told me a few days ago last week. Then I asked him why. He said, because the election is always just been stolen. So I go with my winning speech. Until I told him, don't try to stand now. Look at Matsanga's left eye. I hope all of you are looking at my left eye. There are 2 strategies or 3. Leave it to work. The kingdom does not fall all of a sudden. The kingdom remains with good soldiers, hide their soldiers. They come last and give you a surprise. Have you seen when Liverpool is playing, we don't bring, when we see Mohammed is weak, we bring him back. Then we spare Wayne. The other man from some place, from Senegal. You know the Senegalese, Mr. We bring him last to give injection. So not all of us should go to a scientific election. Some other people can go to other things that can safeguard our country. I beg to move. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much there, Professor Thank you so much. You said you're about to leave. Thank you so much, Karen from Mombasa. Malindi, thank you so much, and Daniel. Thank you so much. So, in conclusion here, this is the Daily Nation had a special supplement of the Kenyan Constitution 10 years later. So I'll just read a bit and then we shall end the show. Just a couple of lines here from our former president, Mwai Kibaki, who was the president of Kenya from 2003 to 2013. And he said, 10 years on, largely inspired by global trends enabled by easier access to information and ideas, we have to be open toward the political and social economic realities the 21st century demands. So that is just a quote there by former president. And Raila Odinga also wrote something here on the Daily Nation, and this is what he said. I once heard the 2010 Constitution described as a camel. The euphemism was used to describe the legally clumsy nature of the document arising from an attempt by different interest groups to load all their aspirations on it. I have also heard the old repealed Independence Constitution described as a horse by people who believe that in comparison it was better in beauty of structure and prose. He goes ahead to say, but we did not seek to give ourselves a new constitution for mere aesthetics. We were concerned with the practicalities, how well the document captured our values and principles and changing times, how well it established functional institutions of governance, and how well it protected us from excess of the abuse of power and authority. It's just a bit of that, so you can go get yourself a copy of the Daily Nation and read that special supplement of the Kenyan Constitution 20 years on, and see how far we are and what some of these people think about it. Thank you so much. This has been the People's Court. I shall be back here at 3 p.m. with African news from the show Diaspora Dispatches, where we'll get to look at other news making headlines in the continent. It was a pleasure. My name is Miriam Mugutu. A very good afternoon to you.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.